Welcome everyone to the game between Gukesh and Nodirbek Abdusattorov at the Tata Steel Masters 2026. We have Gukesh on our screen just entering in, and he is getting ready for the big clash here. A great game for him in round 5, and there comes the FIDE president Arkady Dorkovich. Gukesh gets up in respect, and Gukesh entered the rest day after round 5 after scoring a wonderful win over Nguyen Thai Dai 1. And now he takes on the leader of the tournament, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who's played so well in this tournament. He's beaten Pragnananda, he's beaten Thai Dai 1, and draws against 3 other opponents. Gukesh adjusting his pieces, gets the clock in position, and well, he'll get into his meditative pose where he'll try to get into his best mood for the game. You can see the crowd waiting there in the background as Nodirbek arrives in, the Uzbek grandmaster. Well, I think he's one of the strongest players in the world to have not made it to the candidates this year. So for players like Arjun Erigaisi, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, this tournament means a lot. He's come to the board in good spirits here. He's smiling, and well, Gukesh, he doesn't want to indulge in any kind of jokes or anything before the game. He just wants to stay as focused as possible. And the players shake hands. The game has begun. Nodirbek thinks about his first move. What is it going to be? And this, dear friends, is the ambit recap of the day. He opens the game with pawn to e4. And will Gukesh play the Sicilian against him? No, he stays solid. He plays his pawn to e5. And now the knight comes out to f3. And Gukesh will go knight to c6. Yes. I don't think Gukesh could ever do justice to the Petrov defense. He's so creative. He would love to get some play going. So knight c6, bishop b5. We have the Rui Lopez here. a6 asking a question to the bishop. Bishop comes back to a4. And Gukesh brings his knight out, attacks the pawn on e4. White castles, we are in mainline theory. Bishop e7 is one of the main moves here. He plays it. Generally, white goes rook e1, there's b5. That's how the game goes. But delayed exchange on c6 by Nodirbek Abdusattorov. He takes, pawn takes on c6. And now notice, if you take on e5, I take on e4. There's no pin here because the bishop is on e7. So d3 played, defending the pawn. Now the e5 pawn is hanging. So he defends it with knight to d7. And you could ask a question like, oh, this move looks passive. The bishop is blocked on c8. However, what is more important is that for the time being, black is not losing any material. So black castles, bishop e3. And now rook to e8. The idea of this move is to protect the e5 pawn, pawn to a4, gaining space on the queen side, trying to clamp down the queen side pawns with a5, and a5 by Gukesh himself. In the long run, black would love to put all his pawns on the dark squares, control as many dark squares as possible. King h1 played by Nodirbek. This could be in preparation for the move f4. You can see he still has 1 hour 57 minutes on the clock. So Nodirbek clearly in his prep still. Bishop comes out to d6. And knight to e2. Well, you have to give it to white for the flexibility of his position. Meanwhile, for black, I think the bishop pair and also this very nice maneuver of the knight. Knight f8, knight e6 is very cool. Knight g3 played by Nodirbek here. He wants to get the knight to f5 maybe. And c5 played here by Gukesh. As we said, these two pawns do stop the d4 break. Knight comes to d2. You want to get your knight to c4. And also prepare the move f4. That would be very cool if it is possible. I believe Gukesh has a choice between the move f6 and knight e6. He goes for knight e6 that controls the f4 square and also the d4 square. And knight to f5 played here by Abdusattorov. And maybe just drop the bishop back to f8. Yes, he plays bishop f8. He doesn't want to be giving up his bishop pair for the time being. And knight to c4 attacks the pawn on e5. Can defend it with f6. Yes. Slowly and steadily, it feels like black is the one who's making small progress here. White, well, if he wants to play f4, it's possible. But then you have to give up your other bishop for the knight. And I think Nodirbek doesn't want this. He puts up a small trap, threatening check, check, and winning the queen. Gukesh quietly gets his king out from the g file, threatening g6, knight to d4. Nodirbek has to remain careful here. Queen to g3 played. And now maybe just g6 makes a lot of sense. Yes, he first goes b6. I'm not sure if Gukesh is looking for another diagonal for his bishop because the bishop already looks pretty good on this diagonal. h4 played by Nodirbek, g6 by Gukesh. The knight has only one square to go to, that's h6 here. He plays it. The game is just so positional with so many small ideas here. Both players have to assess whether a move like f4 is coming. Actually, it's not because h6 is hanging. So first you need to get your knight out from there. Knight g4, attack the f6 pawn, which he does. Defend it with bishop g7, then consider f4. But I think just this f4 is never a good idea. Like if you play f4 here, take, take, take. This is very good position. In fact, here there's also queen g4. So he first plays f3, defends the knight so that doesn't fall into any tactics. Bishop a6 played by Gukesh. I think Gukesh is keen that he just chops off this knight here on c4. b3 played here by Nodirbek. And now, what's your last piece that's not playing? It's the rook. Get it to the game. The rooks are well placed in the center of the board. And pawn to h5. He wants to get his pawn to h6 as well. That could be a big problem because then f6 would hang. So he takes the pawn. He chops it off. And knight h6 trying to come into the f5 square. First Gukesh takes on c4. Now d takes c4 gives the d file to black. B takes c4 weakens the a4 square. So both moves come with their own drawbacks. And now you just can't let the knight sit here on f5. So boom, he takes that as well. So from having the bishop pair, he now has a knight against the bishop. Interesting. Interesting transformation. Rook g8 played, getting the g file here. Queen comes to h2. Well, queen h4 looked the most natural, but there was rook g6, queen h2, rook g6, and now can we snatch a pawn here? I think you must. So takes on h5. It does feel like the white king is getting a bit exposed with the rook coming to g8. He comes to f4 with the knight attacking the queen and the pawn. You must take it. There's no other way. So takes on f4, e takes f4, and now with rook g8 coming up, white has only one move to kind of maintain the balance, and Nodirbek instantly plays it. What a move. So these pawns are very strong. You have to do en passant here. Yes, he takes it, and king comes up to g2 to blockade the pawn. And what Nodirbek is saying that, okay, Gukesh, you might have this pawn, but I mean, I'm happy because this pawn limits your rooks. It closes down your file. Queen d4. Rook a e1 played. Yes, all the dark squares are a bit weak here. And Gukesh goes king g7. He has 13 minutes 59 seconds. 7 more moves to make. Well under time. You know, like the time is not really an issue. e5 played here. And attacks the queen. He goes here. I have to be careful because rook g6, he's going to go queen h5, and once you play queen h5, fe5, rook e5 or queen e5 should be equal. He goes queen to f5, putting pressure here. Not easy position for Gukesh to find a way to play for a win. Rook f8 or taking here. Both these moves seem to be heading towards a draw, and Gukesh has 6 minutes on the clock. I think he must take on e5. He goes rook g5, and look at Nodirbek there. And look at Gukesh. He can't believe he's just blundered. Queen takes f6. Takes the pawn. And can you believe what just happened? The rook is hanging for free. He just blundered everything. Nodirbek shakes his head. Gukesh resigns. Just a lapse in concentration totally. Complete lapse in concentration here from the world champion, and in such an exciting and interesting position. Gukesh makes a one move blunder. He can't believe that he just gave up the game in this manner. And Nodirbek is like, sorry, you know, he's just trying to calm Gukesh down. He also feels sad for him there. And yeah, there were many different ways to sort of equalize or play for something for Gukesh. I mean, he was in no way losing there. And while Nodirbek is showing him variations, Gukesh is so unhappy. And well, Nodirbek realizes it's best to leave him alone there. And Gukesh is like, how did I just give up this entire rook there? The f6 pawn was defended in such a sad moment for him, because I think such mistakes hardly ever happen at this level. And that too, Gukesh was in good form in this tournament. It was going well. The games were good. He was unbeaten. And I think he just doesn't know why he played it. And still shaking his head there. It's not easy moment for Gukesh. But well, the best that he can do now is to just put this game behind him. Tell himself that this is part of chess, that this can happen. But as always, Gukesh puts back his pieces on the board. I think for Gukesh, more than just the loss or this, it's just the way he blundered. I mean, he would never like to lose, and no one would ever like to lose like this. where you have such a nice fight going and then you make such a big mistake that the game is done. Doesn't want to leave the board. Well, he's a fighter. He'll come back for sure. Such things do happen. And let's hope that Gukesh manages to recover from this very brutal loss at the Tata Steel Masters 2026.
Nodirbek, congratulations, a huge win against world champion Gukesh. The game ended very suddenly and shockingly. Before we have a look at the game, what went through your mind in the very end?
Yeah, I feel, very sorry for him. I mean, it's a, terrible feeling. I've done it myself many times, so yeah, it's absolutely horrible feeling. This game was, pretty much normal. At some point, I think he was getting excited and he was obviously trying to push, but I sort of controlled the, the margin. I thought I had a, good margin to draw, and I think, at the end he was getting low on time and he felt nervous and he blundered horribly. I missed this idea with knight f4 from afar, but fortunately I have this idea with bishop f4, ef g4. Otherwise I think I'm just busted. Yeah, after g4, fg, king g2, I think it's dynamically equal. Although white's pawn down, but I think he has good structure and some potential kingside play with rook h1 and so on. And yeah, I think he was getting very excited here, but I was thinking that it should be around equal. Yeah, here I saw queen f4, I think, which is unpleasant for me because I didn't see a quite good move here. I saw this line, but
It's very messy now.
yes, here if king h1, then rook g8, and I think black is just winning here. And if I go king f2, also rook g8, and I thought it should be also lost, but maybe I have some other moves like after queen f4, but I was feeling dangerous here because I didn't see a good move for me. But maybe now I saw maybe I can play rook e4, queen d2, and king g1. Yeah, but I think it's rook h6. Yeah, rook h6 just wins. Yeah, and then king f8. Maybe I can play queen g4. Yeah, but okay. I mean,
It's very
this is
tricky.
very dangerous. Yeah, for after queen f4, I missed when I played this e5. I missed queen f4, and after that I was feeling not
Big
great,
relief at the board when he didn't play.
yeah,
queen
after rook
f4.
h6, I felt very safe. Like even if I take the queens, it's just equal. But okay, I was also trying to complicate things, and queen f5, and okay, rook g5. So I think unexplainable. Yeah.